Good Thursday morning. I just took Lily out for her trip around the block. She's now laying on the bear rug. I don't know if you can see it or not. Do you see her there? She sticks her head between the ears of the bear. She says, "It's mine. It's not yours, sweetheart. It's mine. Somebody gave it to me from Alaska. It was a gift, actually." Anyway, I should sometimes just show you the room instead of my ugly face, okay? But today's a great reading. If this isn't marked with a vengeance, I quit. You're going to see the incipient faith, the confident but beginning faith of the Gentile world. You see, from now on, you're going to see that. Some of the best one-liners, they're all coming from pagans, neo-pagans, okay? All right? That's the beauty of it. And it's rough and hewn. Remember, when he's writing this thing, he said maybe, 60, 65 AD, the church is just now beginning to creep out of Palestine, as it were, into the global world, and is encountering and embracing the Gentile world. And so they put in the mouth of the Gentiles some of the most eloquent lines in the whole New Testament. It's telling the world we're all in it together. Christ came to heal us all. We are all together. You see, watch it. Jesus went to the district of Tyre. He entered a house and wanted no one to know about it, but he could not escape notice. Soon, this is a great liner, a woman whose daughter had an unclean spirit heard about him. She came and fell at his feet. I don't know what an unclean spirit is. That's a different word. I don't know. If this were a Jew, and she's not, it could mean that it's a spirit of defiance against the law, unclean in the sense of doing violence to the Mosaic law, but she's not. Whatever it is radically evil. Maybe it is a radical false wisdom, okay? The spirit of the world, the counter spirit, in a sense, perhaps you could say, more contemporary, an antichrist. Something that divides and destroys. I was just thinking as I said that to you, it could be a psychological state of inner turmoil and alienation, a psychotic state, a person in deep hatred of oneself, torn apart from within and tearing the world apart that surrounds it. Anyone who's ever dealt with mental illness in a family or in a society knows the powerful disruptive effect it has. It is simply demonic in the way that it tears apart the whole fabric of family life or the fabric of a culture or a society, the religious order. It could be anywhere. That, I think, is what the unclean spirit is. So what did she do? She fell at his feet, okay? The woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician by birth. So you know she's a Gentile. She is not a Jew, okay? And she begged him to drive out the demon of her daughter, to drive the demon out of her daughter. He said to her, "Let the children be fed first." And fed always means here not only the bread of life as in the Eucharist, but the bread of the Word of God. That's a biblical expression. When speaking about bread, the bread and the manna in the desert is the wisdom of God. The Word of God is the bread of life. Okay, they're very important. This language is not being accidentally thrown around. He knows what he's saying. Mark knows what he's doing. You know, dummy. Okay? So he says, as he said to her, let the children be fed first. He's got to be talking about the Jewish Christian community. What else could he be talking about, okay? For it's not right to take the food of the children. Whose children? The children of Abraham. And throw it to the dogs. Who are the dogs? The Gentiles. All right? You and me who are listening to this, unless you're Jewish in your background. See? Here comes the great one-liner. She says to him in reply, "Lord, even the dogs under the table eat the children's scraps. I'll take what's left. I know I'm a dog. I know I'm low class. I'm like a dog under the table. Give me a little bit of the scraps. All I'm asking for is the scraps. I'm not asking you your whole thing. Give me the scraps." Think of the early church of the Gentiles, maybe eating the scraps from the preaching of Peter, Paul, Thomas, all this, the apostles, the early disciples. I'll take just the scraps, but let me eat. Give me some words. Even if you're going to preach to your own, let me hear some of it, okay? See? Then he said to her, for saying this, you may go. I'm not only going to give you the scraps, I'm going to do the whole thing. Okay? The demon has, all right. Then he said to her, for saying this, you may go. The demon has gone out of your daughter. The alienation is over. You are now intimate to the story. You're no longer separate. You're no longer isolated. Hmm? When the woman went home, she found the child lying in bed. The demon was gone. She was now at inner peace. Hmm? The demon of the Antichrist, as it were, the forces of evil, the false gospels. I'll tell you what, the false wisdoms have removed and replaced by the final wisdom, the final word, Christ himself. And the child, who's the child? The child has got to be the Gentile community who's come to Christ through the mother. The mother doesn't possess the fullness of it, but she has a hint to it, and she brings her family to it to make it whole. Notice the thing is, the child can't go by himself or herself. It's the mother who brings the child. Maybe in a way, you're looking at the Gentile church bringing herself to Christ. See? Listen to Lily. Lily has no respect. I'm making these videos and she says, I know. All right, Lil, be a good girl. She's probably barring the guy 4 blocks away, okay? Lily's a nitwit. Well, not really, but anyway. She says, you're ruining this thing on me, Lily. I'm trying to be profound and you're barking up a storm. She's some, hey, Lil, hey, Walio, knock it off. Yeah. I just had her out. She couldn't bark when she was outside. Anyway, I love this story about the Syrophoenician woman. She's a great symbol of the Gentile church, and it's very inchoate beginnings. She sees Christ, she has an idea about Christ, and ain't so sure, but she's by God going to bring her kid. She's going to bring the next generation who are in desperate need of wholeness. I think that's it. I think I just got that right. And Christ not only heals the little girl, he heals her. He brings them all together into his life, into his wisdom. He feeds them all. This is the beginning of, in a sense, the Romanization of the church, its globalization at that time. Remember, Rome was, you might say, the global community. They ruled the world, the known world. Okay? And now it is penetrating. It's going to take 3 centuries. It's going to take all the way to the 5th century. 480, I believe it was. I could get all those numbers wrong. I'm good for that kind of mistake, okay? Take pride in my silliness, my stupidity, okay? But whatever. It's the beginning, and it'll be, and interestingly enough, the imitation of Christ through the blood of the martyrs. I wonder, sometimes I just had a thought. Paul was a great persecutor of the church, and he encounters Christ on the road to Damascus. What was he going there for? To persecute the church members, to put them in prison. I wonder if what the manifestation of Christ in the church was. Now I am really speculating, okay? It dawned on me this week as I thought of it. Who did Paul encounter when he encountered Christ, the wounded Christ? When he said, why are you persecuting me? Who am I persecuting? I am Jesus of Nazareth, who you are persecuting. Okay? Probably one of the most radical insights in the history and the formation of Christianity itself, Paul. I wonder if what the illumination of Paul was in fact when he found Christ in the martyrs, the very people he was persecuting. He wouldn't be the first, and he isn't the first and won't be the last if that's the case, that the great revelation on the road to Damascus was his own recognition that in persecuting the Christians, he was persecuting Christ. He saw it in the blood of the martyrs. I have to think that, partly. Not taken away from the event, but it wasn't an abstraction. It wasn't a philosophical insight. I think St. Paul felt the full force of the blood of the martyrs. And he's now he is now the forefront of a line of martyrs. The conviction of the church's capacity to globalize the world, to bring it to a global community has been the blood of the martyrs. I see that now happening in Asia and parts of the world where Christians are being heavily persecuted and imprisoned and killed, murdered in Africa. Out of the blood of those martyrs will come to church. That's what's going to happen. The world is looking for wholeness. That's the Syrophoenician woman bringing her child to Christ. The world is looking for Christ. She will find it in the blood of the martyrs.